The search bar in Google Analytics 4 right at the top of the screen is actually really useful. It's something that a lot of people might glaze over or go straight past, but the use case of it can be quite substantial. And this is where it comes into sort of three component parts. The first one is going to be the navigational side. So if you wanted to quickly open up a report that you remember the name of, or you wanted to go to your most recently viewed stuff, if you just open that menu with the search bar at the top of the screen, it will show you your most recently viewed, or you can search for a report or an area of the screen like the admin workspace, and it will take you straight into that. So the first things first, navigational side, done, dusted, and really useful. But it's got two other use cases, which are, at least for me, a little bit more interesting, and sometimes something that I forget about, and I end up having to kind of go and find out for myself. The first one is using documentation. So if you've got any questions around things like how to implement Google Analytics 4, or how to do certain event tracking, or even looking at things like recommended events, or finding that list without having to remember where it is or where Google has the documentation, you can ask. You can do things like how to implement GA4, and then what it will do is it will pop up a bunch of articles, which then you can go off and find exactly which ones you want. So it's kind of like doing a Google search, but it is just within the interface. It's all going to be GA4 relevant documentation. It's all going to be first-party documentation too, so you're just going to see the official Google guides in there. So that's one use case. That's one really useful use case, just to kind of ask questions around how things work or how to do some implementation. I suppose on that, you can even ask it things like what your measurement ID is. So if you wanted to say, just type in measurement ID, so if you're doing the implementation in things like a CMS or Google Tag Manager, then this is going to be really useful. This is the thing you need to implement. And again, it just saves you from going into the settings, the data streams, finding that measurement ID individually. You can just find it straight away from here. But the most interesting and potentially valuable or useful part of all of these things is going to be the insights, or the kind of automatic recognition, the kind of natural language processing that Google Analytics can do. And that's if you ask it a question. So you can ask it any question, pretty simple questions. We can't ask a very kind of industry or website specific questions to the data just yet. But you can ask it things like desktop users, just something as general as that, and it will give you a number. So in this case, it's given me just over 7,500 desktop users for a date period. But I can be quite specific. I can say desktop users yesterday, in which case it will give me just that one number, and I can copy that number and use that elsewhere. I can even just ask for sort of things like trends, so desktop user trends. And then I can actually see that it's given me a suggestion right at the top of trend of desktop users. And that'll open up the right-hand panel in Google Analytics 4 and give you a bit more detail, or a graph in this case, of giving me kind of what I'm after. So yeah, this is a really useful feature. Yes, navigation, yes, documentation, but asking it specific questions, like if you're there just for a single number, or if you wanted to just get a graph for some trends or look at something more broadly, then that's really what it's useful for. They keep expanding the functionality here. They keep adding these little things in every now and then. So it's something that that may expand over time, especially with the rise of AI and understanding kind of what we mean a bit better. So hopefully we can ask it more detailed or complex questions, or maybe even specific questions. But for now, give it a go. It's worth doing, especially if you don't want to have to remember exactly how and where to find specific numbers or graphs. You can just ask for it. If it doesn't work, you can go figure it out. But if it does work, then it saves you a bunch of time. Anyway, enjoy. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll see you at the next one.